our politicians just bring...
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from...
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
A new day and a bright morning, shining so much here from the nation's capital. It still looks the days are still counting towards the end of the year 2024. What a beautiful morning, and a pleasure to have you tune in and joining us on the Global Morning here on Global Television. My name is Edikan Michael. I'm not just going to be doing this alone this morning. My co-host is here.
Good morning, Edikan Michael.
Good morning, Queen of Steez. Trust you're good.
Yeah, I had a beautiful night rest. And
Absolutely.
At least the fuel crisis that we're experiencing.
Wow, it's still very terrible. I mean, when you look at the fact that NNPC at the other, Dangote says we are having an agreement with Adman, the independent marketers. So we're still hoping that there will be a drop in the price, maybe probably 1,000 or 900 naira. The projection is that we can't continue to buy at what we are currently buying. The hardship is still very much. And when you look at why we have a local refinery like Dangote, should we still buy at the price of maybe the landing cost it was used to be from importing fuel and all of that? So there's a whole lot of consideration for fuel. Everywhere you go to in this country, people are just having that conversation because it looks at that's the drivers of the economy. Everything surrounds about that, and it's really hitting hard on Nigerians.
And I just want to comment about the road constructions that we have along Panex and other places that we've seen, particularly around the Katampe axis as well.
My conjunction.
And the different constructions that we are having. And I think it's a welcome development, but also it has intensified the amount of traffic that we have in Abuja. Particularly yesterday, along the Gwarimpa-Jahi axis of Abuja, there was a lot of traffic. I particularly was in traffic till about, I think I left the office past 6, and I was in traffic till about almost 9 p.m.
It was not very terrible.
It was that terrible. The last time I had traffic like that was in Lagos. And I'm talking about it only for us to get to the front and discover that there were road constructions around that junction. And then Nigerians, I want to appeal to us to just do the right thing. So while we had traffic because of that construction, and of course we had other heavy vehicles trying to access that road, people were trying to cut corners, and then they compounded the traffic. They compounded the issue by following one way, taking the one way out, and then in fact it was a deadlock situation because there were no movements at all. Like you could be on a spot for 30 minutes. And then people who were going from the other wing of the road.
We were trying to negotiate this other way.
Yes. They had vehicles, heavy vehicles, and people coming the right way as well. So there was, collision there with a couple of accidents as well. And so the traffic was just, I'm sure some people were in that traffic until maybe 12 p.m.
It's really pathetic because, in as much as we appreciate constructions, probably I don't want to construct a bridge, and that's the reason we're connecting, the other end to it. But there should be an alternative.
And we expect to see traffic wardens at their duty post. We want to see them at
the road safety and all of those.
Because those guys were nowhere to be found at that point in time, and you could imagine the inconvenience. And then I don't know, maybe stricter punishment should be meted out to people who take one way or something. Because
at that moment, people just want to help themselves. You understand?
They ended up, compounding the issue because now there was no movement. It was a. I can't explain that.
I also feel, because why that traffic is much because, it's at the close of work and everyone, working at the city centers and all of that are trying to negotiate themselves back maybe to Kubwa and all of those axes. So just as you said, because it looks that road safety after 6 p.m. You find them no more. But in a situation where we're having a critical, construction like that, there's a need to pay attention to that. There also should be an alternative. Can they make an alternative route for people so that they can avoid entirely that express? Because if we must say that the express is under construction, mindful of the fact that people always there are people in emergencies as well. When you look at the fact that people want to cut corners, naturally people want to cut corners because they want to arrive something on time and all of this. So there should entirely be an alternative. I strongly believe there should be an alternative because from the traffic and all of those, Nigerians lack patience. So we always have to display of that. But it's a good one. Development is good, but while getting some places developed, they should also pay attention to the necessity, mobilize the men of the road safety to be there. Everyone that ought to protect, movement within these areas as long as the construction within Nikon Junction, Bannex, and that of Katampe is ongoing. There's a need to do because that is the expressway. I mean, you can't talk of Nikon, you can't talk of Bannex, you can't talk of all of these axes in Abuja without knowing that these are critical roads, and there's a need to urgently pay attention to that, and also create an alternative for people, to be able to move around.
Absolutely, and let everyone do their due diligence. Let the traffic wardens be at their duty post. If you think it's going to be such a long duty to have somebody be on the road from morning till night, then we could have night shift because of the construction to ease movement for residents here in Abuja and to also reduce the number of accidents that we have. Because if we don't have traffic wardens at their duty posts, road safety workers and all of those people at their duty posts, aside from the traffic, we're going to have issues, more cases of accidents and crashes on those roads. But it's commendable that the Minister of FCT is putting all this in place to ensure that the FCT is well developed and good roads and is most especially accessible to workers and residents.
And now up to the southwest part of the country, it looks like the preparations are top gear, for the Ondo 2024 off-cycle election. Just 2 days to go. INEC has reiterated their commitment in respect to preparation. Distribution of materials will kickstart today, and I've also seen out that international observers, local observers have all converged in Akure, the state capital, in respect to the election. So clearly, the election is set, and the people of Ondo also have it as a task to vote in and elect who leads them in the next 4 years. So it's another half-cycle election for the Ondo, and it's just 2 days to go. The political atmosphere is still not really so much high like that of Edo State. It looks so much calm, but in a way, PDP, APC, still the loggerheads are trying to round up with their campaigns with other political parties as well. Yes, we always have that conviction and also brings you to speed what may really be happening right there at Ondo State. And just what you may call 24 hours after swearing in, the Edo State governor has also terminated all the appointment of the permanent secretaries in Edo State, which many is still sparking confusion about the actions of the governor. Just barely 24 hours, or you call it 48 hours on assumption of office. It's just about the man who has power now, trying to take action from day one, hitting the ground running from day one. When you have power, you have to start exercising. But it's critical to also pay attention. Permanent secretaries, one may say, is not a political appointment. I mean, it's not really a political appointment. These are a career civil servant who went through the ranks to become permanent secretary. It looks sometimes, they are loyal to some system, and maybe the governor is also not really trusting them for the job ahead of his 4 years of dispensation. So he has actually shown them the way out, probably to appoint new ones and all of that. But it's also sparking the convention is because it's just 24 hours. That those that feel, the governor ought to probably, get to study some documents, first allow them to do all of those transition process before, taking that action.
Before the governor assumed office, he must have been watching the performances of these people. So I want to assume that it has been pertinent for him to take such actions, most especially because he may have been seeing these people, seeing their actions, and so he has been watching their delivery, watching the characters of these people and their impute to the service. So it's in his right. He is not entirely out of the system before assuming. He wasn't actually entirely out of the system before assuming office. So if he deems fit to take such actions on day one of his assumption of office, then fine.
As long as for the better and the benefit of the people of Edo State. All right, everyone. We'll have a whole lot of stories ahead. Conversation on the program this morning. We'll also get to United States, where Donald Trump had to visit the President Joe Biden in what they call is a usual tradition in respect to the transition process for the president in office to welcome the president-elect, and that ritual, or that call it tradition, took place yesterday. On the program this morning, we'll be highlighting on that, and also looking at the fact that 4 years ago, Donald Trump welcomed Joe Biden into the White House in respect to the transition process. All of that will still be a concern to us this morning on the program. But for now, let's get to go on the break right away. And once we return from the break, one of the big stories on the newspaper this morning, we'll bring that to you. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Many thanks for staying with us. If you just joined us, this is still Global Morning. helping you make sense of your morning today. Now we're going to be going to our paper review. We're looking at the front pages of the national dailies, and to begin with, we're looking at we have quite a number of papers here and top stories for you this morning, but let's look at the blueprint. On the front page of the blueprint, right here, we have big stories. With our reforms, Nigeria's FDI's gone beyond $30 billion, according to Tinubu. And then we have how bandits exploit peace deals with Kaduna farming communities. This statement here is attributed to BEPU. And then we have, it's mischievous to call Tinubu CIA asset, according to Reno Omokiri here, credited to Reno Omokiri. And then in business here we have power. Federal government to deploy PPP to bridge $10 billion investment gap. Sports, AFCON 2025, Super Eagles gone for 3 points against Benin in Abidjan, or Benin in Abidjan. And then we have Nigerian lawmakers pressure officials to manipulate budget for their gains, according to Jega here, INEC chairman. And then that's the former INEC chairman, I beg your pardon. And right here we have customs hits 5.7 trillion naira 2024 revenue target. And then federal government's debt stock rises to 66.957 trillion naira in H1 2024. What other stories do we have? It says Manufacturers Association of Nigeria says 16 manufacturers lost. And then we have Saudi meeting, federal government eaves $5 billion trade. And then lastly, on the Blueprint newspaper, Ondo Goba, Shetima, Ganduje lead APC envoys. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Blueprint. You can pick it up, get a copy to read some of these headlines. Well, over now, we're looking at the Daily Independent, and Michael Edikan has that story for us.
The shots from the Daily Independent this morning coming in as big story. Nigeria needs $10 billion investment for 24 hours electricity. A lot is coming from federal government. Rada says TCN lament attacks on Obajana transmission substation. Our minister lists YFG Bridges collective bargaining agreement. Allows in page 29 right there at the Daily Independent. Federal government vows to eliminate new Lakowa terror group. That's on page 7. Your organization is dirty, Reps tells NACON chairman on page 6. And our government attack checkpoint in Abia killed 2 soldiers. Still on page 6 of the Daily Independent, and Makinda presents 678 billion naira 2025 budget to lawmakers. Again, fuel tanker explodes in Jigawa. SCCPC wants discourse over floating directive on meter replacement. And just as the big at the front page of Daily Independent, the image right there, the picture of APC rounding up their campaign in Ondo State, citing the governor Lucky Ayedatiwa. Our Wiki clarifies Abuja judge's housing project says it is presidential policy. NNPC Limited set to supply 100 liters gas to Dangote refinery. Just to react, coming from former Governor Wike and the Minister of FCT in respect to judges, housing project, and all of that. But those that have any concern, that it all looks clearly that if the executive are always handing over, houses, handing over cars, and all of that to judges, that is also a way of trying to indict the judges or trying to buy favor from the judges, that there should be a separation of power. But even such donation is not meant to come from the executive. Maybe the National Judiciary Council should be charged of doing that. And we can say this is a presidential order. We ought to be doing this.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. I think it should be free from the executive is not supposed to be involved
to giving the other arm of government all of that,
particularly because we know how important the judicial system is, and then those who are in the judiciary are, and how they're supposed to be free from political affiliations, free from some of these affiliations. And you know what they say about gifts, that gifts will always penetrate conscience. When you constantly give a person gifts, the person reacts to you differently. If I continue to give you, I buy a car for you today, Michael.
What do you want me to do? I do.
To get to the point, you see me and you just prostrate, because that gift has given
absolutely
for me to win you over. And so I think it should be done with outside of the executive.
The National Judicial Council, a body responsible for all of that from the judiciary should be not executive, because sometimes you go to other state governors are giving judges cars and all of that. How do you want these checks and balances, to be reflected in the government of the day? At the end of the day, the judiciary, legislatures and ought to check not the excesses of the executive. So when there's this merriment between the both within the two arms of government, that is the judiciary and the executive, that we might not be able to get things right. And that's why for the FCC Minister is making some clarifications on the judges housing project. It says that it is a presidential policy. Sarah the other day had threatened to sue the governors and the ministers in respect to all of these donations to the judges of the state. But that's the much coming from the Daily Independent. You can get other papers who have more details subsequently.
Absolutely. Now let's look at the front page of another newspaper, which is the Daily Sun right now. Big story there says, federal government puts cost of fixing power at $10 billion. Excuse me. It says, rather there says, FCCPC directs IKDC to halt attempt to replace meters. And just beside the nameplate right there, we have angry patients protest blackout and lack of water supply in UCH. Domestic debt stock grows to 66.957 trillion naira amid budget deficit, inflationary pressures. And then FDI hits $30 billion as customs meets 5.79 trillion naira revenue target. What are the stories that we have? Gunmen kill 2 soldiers in Abia. Federal government hands over 3 helicopters to Nigerian Navy to boost maritime security. How Tinubu's mining sector reform is drawing global attention. We also have NNPCL, Dangote signed 10-year gas supply deal. And Okpebolo dissolves Edo boards, suspends revenue collection, orders arrest of defaulters. And the writer says inaugurates SSG and commissioner. Well, these are the stories on the Daily Sun, not too different from some of the headlines we've seen on the Daily Independent and the blueprints that we have looked at today. Hoping the Daily Trust gives us more headlines.
Well, not entirely much different, but from the Daily Trust, we still have reactions to FCT houses for judges. And this is coming from Falana. Falana is as Counter UK is seized on action unconstitutional. Says gesture, embarrassment to judiciary. We need to protect judges. Minister Wike about the big story right at the Daily Trust. Lakurawa members flee Kebbi as troops intensify onslaught. It looks like, a new name and a new group is emerging again with respect to many insecurity issues we are having. And sometimes, what's the problem? We keep on paying attention, and it's really eating up from the north. Now, it looks Kebbi, is still the focal point and all of that. So, the attacks, the banditry, we have not arrested issue of banditry, we've not arrested completely issues of the Boko Haram and all of that. So now a new name has emerged again, and we are considering what this means to, a state of security. We have the Chief of Army, the late Chief of Army staff, we now have a new Chief of Army staff. The job again still keeps intensifying for the army and the soldiers and even the security agencies. But anyway, we'll bring much of that interruptions and a concern about what the Daily Trust has for us this morning. Let's get to go on a very quick break, everyone. And once we return from the break, the conversation continues.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Many thanks for assisting with us here on the program. Let's get to the mining sector reform is drawing a global attention. That story can be found on page 26 of the Daily Trust. Gunmen attack army checkpoint in Abia, killed 2 soldiers.
That's sad. That's really
very
pathetic.
So pathetic. The constant attack, on a security agency is still very alarming. And when you look at the fact that, it's always unexpected. one may said this is a checkpoint. They were busy, doing their jobs, and these gunmen had to go open fire and kill him too. So the security architecture is still a major problem. If this is carried out against, armed men.
What's the fate of an average Nigerian who goes about unarmed?
I mean, that was why a senator, I think Senator Nwoko is arguing in a bill in the National Assembly, allow people to carry their guns.
So that, be legalized.
We can all be protected because we can never know where we'll find ourselves. But that's not even a solution, because even if everyone carry their guns, you don't know who shoots first and all of that. And
then we have, coupled with the fact that we are having hardship. There's currently hardship in the land, and people are angry. The tempers of Nigerians are.
And
shots everywhere.
And there was an attack on the show. So that's not the way to go.
That's not the way to go.
And they understand the angle of the Senate.
Absolutely. Because how do we go about unarmed, and then we have criminals who are armed, and nobody is checking putting these criminals to check? Where are they getting the arms from? You're coming back from work, someone is pointing a gun at you, and you know that person ultimately gets away with it because there's nobody going after that person. Exactly.
So it means that it's a problem from the other end of the security agencies. The failure of the security agencies at the borders in order to checkmate, the smuggling of guns and all of that. You see what is really causing problem to us, and they are still being victim, because we can't say it's only the security agencies that are allowed to be with guns, and we see gunmen, bandits, kidnappers, black snatchers, and all of these people have a position of some guns, for attack. So it's still a major concern. For us to address the issue of insecurity, there's a need to, if we said guns shouldn't be made available for everyone, then we shouldn't also allow a bandit to have access to it. A gunman, the kidnappers, the kidnappers, and all of that should not have access to guns, because it's still a major concern. That's why Senator Nwoko is arguing that if bandits are with guns, gunmen are having their own position, then allow the civilians to be with their own shoes so that they can also protect themselves. But would that solve the problems? Would that address the issues of insecurity? Let's get to tackle it from, that very grassroots. So, but our hearts really goes out to the family of the two soldiers that have been victim again of just, being in a checkpoint in Abia State, were attacked at the checkpoint. Our heart goes out to the family and the Nigerian Army. World Diabetes Day, still on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Patients dying and weighs down by high costs of medication. Writer says, we spend over 80,000 naira on drugs every month. Expert tells government on cheaper treatment policy. You are our how-to reporter, because there are a lot of concern. We've seen the projection of the fact that drugs is not cheap, and medication generally, government have not really paid attention to that sector in terms of subsidy and all of that. People are dying, people are managing, some disease. People don't even go to hospital for checks again because they're even struggling for what to eat. How do you expect them to take the money that they want to use and eat to go start going for the test? And now it looks at with the World Diabetes Day now, people can't really have their high blood pressure in check. They can't even afford the drugs. We've seen alarming 80,000 for medications. These are issues of minimum wage have not been implemented, and all of this concern.
And they can't even afford, to take alternative foods, because if you check it, people who have diabetes are also advised to cut down on certain foods, cut down on carbohydrates, certain foods, sugary foods, and all of that, and take alternatives. And we all know how expensive these alternatives are. Fresh fruits, certain kinds of fruits, greens, and all that, and getting it, preserving it as well, is just high maintenance for them. And I just hope that some sort of subsidy can be done to help them alleviate the current expenses on having to cater for diabetes.
A lot of concern. Medication, cheaper treatment policy, cheaper treatment policy, government should pay attention to that, because not everyone have access to some medication, and it's worrisome. Health is paramount. When people are healthy, they're also able to create impacts in the economy. They're also able to contribute. They're also able to work to earn a living. So health is how is his health? The most common thing, and there's a need on the World Diabetes Day like today. We also pay attention to that concern. Hello, Ondo governorship, 6 hospitalized as talks attack PDP members. It looks from Ondo State, the political atmosphere again, thuggery in elections, attack on PDP members, and those are having a concern. I mean, we can't still be talking about issue of talks in elections. The U.S. just recently concluded the elections. We didn't hear snatching of boxes, thuggery, attack, but just governorship elections, many attacks, many thuggery rising, putting their heads so high to attack members of the oppositions or the other political party attacking. So it's still not a welcome development for democracy. At this moment of our democracy, 25 years of our broken practice, we ought not to be, having these issues of attacks, the thuggeries and all of that. Let elections be at the will of the people, because it's about the people, going out to vote. So what is the job of the talk? Are you trying to persuade me on who to vote? Are you attacking me so I'm not come out on election day to vote? The security agency should also pay attention to all of this, because, the moment where you look at the environment is becoming so tense, people on elections, they basically just feel, I wouldn't go out to vote because I don't know how my own opinion may, be an issue to the others. So talking in elections is still not welcome, and we shouldn't be having that conversation, at the moment of elections today. And just as we are counting days to on the election, security agency should intensify, their jobs, looking at, paying attention closely to the security of the state, so that people can have confidence to come out. In those days, we had no turnout of vote, and we are still putting our hands very close to Ondo. Let people come out to elect who they want. Let people come out to participate. It's a responsibility of every citizen and indigene of Ondo State who are eligible to cast their vote on Saturday. Well, that was a very few big stories coming from the Daily Trust as I had to Queen.
Okay, let's now look at our next point of call, which happens to be the Nigerian Tribune for you. Big story on the Nigerian Tribune says, Ondo APC rally, Tinubu evokes Ajasi Aketi's memories in push for votes. Suspected political talks strike in Ondo, injures 6 in Dare. And then we have police vow zero tolerance for acts against peace. And also, above the nameplate, let's look at the stories above the nameplates. We have 3 bodies still missing as black box of crashed helicopter arrives Abuja for analysis. And then we have Tribute. Okay, then we also have special package for Saturday. Tola Adeniyi, Biodun Oduwole, Folu Olamiti, Bamiji Ojo, others writes for Tribune at 75. Well, let's look at how mass numbers encourage corruption in public sector, according to Jega, who happens to be the former INEC chairman. 2025 budget, Makinde proposes 678.87 billion naira. Adeleke presents 390 billion naira to House of Assembly. Vandals invade Obajana transmission substation, destroys power transformer radiator. We cannot overemphasize the importance of security, particularly for the energy sector, power sector. We cannot overemphasize how important it is, because while we're talking about the new KVs that are being distributed, installed, while we're talking about reforms to help better the power sector, talking about segmentations, band A, band B, band C, and all of this, if we do not put vandals in check, all of this exercise will be in futility. So we need to, as a matter of urgency, not just for the power sector, but for every other sector. Take, for instance, I keep using the rail systems as an example. Newly commissioned rail today, tomorrow we're hearing that vandals have gone to attack the rail tracks, which is detrimental to the lives of people who are going to be plowing that route. And also for the trains as well. So can that be put in check? Can we have, how we have policemen across various roads? Let's have that as well. Let's get CCTV cameras. Can we even go digital to ensure that vandals are put in check? Well, let's look at other stories still on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Now we also have right here that vandals invade these substations, and then we have Okpebolo dissolves boards, sacks political appointees, Assembly clears Attorney General, delays Oshomele's son's clearance. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, and this is where we'll be calling it a wrap on our newspaper review this morning. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, it will be time for the Global AM News. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television, getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.